this close. We are this close to the NFL draft, ladies and gentlemen. This is exciting for so many damn reasons. One, we have way more accurate mock drafts to be looking at. We're going to be looking at one from Chad Reuter here where he's putting us in some really difficult spots. Jackson Smith-Njigba to the Ravens, Zay Flowers to the Chiefs, Jordan Addison to the Bills. I don't know what to do. We'll be talking about it in this video. But also, I am so excited because we are this close to getting to Thursday where I will be at the NFL draft. I will be on the red carpet interviewing these players live on YouTube. I don't know if this has ever been done before. We will be doing it on Flock Fantasy's YouTube channel. So please head over there before the NFL draft. I never thought we could do something like this. I owe you all the thanks in the world. It is a massive achievement, a massive accomplishment, and I would love for you to be there to share it with me because you're the reason we are there in the first place. But thank you for everything as always. If you want to get my Dynasty rankings, our Dynasty rookie rankings, you want the Dynasty rookie rankings of all your favorite Dynasty creators, you can find that on flockfantasy.com. When you sign up with promo code FLOCK, you're going to get 30% off any subscription, and you are going to get a podcast breaking down your Dynasty team by yours truly. Maybe we do it in Kansas City at the NFL draft, but let's go through and let's dive into this. Starting off with the easy guy, right? This is going to be the only easy one of the entire video. Bijan Robinson goes to the Atlanta Falcons at 8. Now with Atlanta, we can say, yeah, a really bad offense, right? But with the Atlanta Falcons, we can also say, okay, well, Arthur Smith is looking to run the ball every single chance he gets. Bijan Robinson has the size to be a 3-down player. I mean, if you're going through and looking at the BMI 30, you're looking at the entire frame, looking at the collegiate workload, everything shows us Bijan Robinson can easily handle a workload of 20 plus touches a game at the NFL level. The Atlanta Falcons would clearly want to give him just that. It would make Tyler Algier just a pure handcuff running back. So yeah, Bijan off the board at 1 as usual. At 2, we are going to have Bryce Young, who goes to the Carolina Panthers at 1. Now, if you're looking at the updated Las Vegas Sportsbook's odds of the quarterback to go at number 1 overall, it's locked and loaded. It's Bryce Young. This isn't up for debate. Not a great situation in Carolina, but it is what it is. If NFL talent evaluators are telling us he's the best guy in the class, they know more than I do when it comes to the quarterback position, so we will be listening to them. Now, this is where it gets difficult, right? Because all offseason, we've been told it's Bryce Young, it's CJ Stroud. It's Bryce Young, it's CJ Stroud. Whereas if you're looking at the most updated lines for who the Houston Texans will take at the number 2 overall pick, it's not CJ Stroud. If you are on Twitter and you are just searching CJ Stroud, you will see that everybody and their mom is screaming that NFL teams are not as high on him as the Dynasty community, as the casual NFL fan, and he is falling down draft boards. On the other hand, a quarterback that is moving up draft boards, that NFL teams appear to be higher on than the Dynasty community, than the casual NFL fan, is Will Levis. Will Levis is now the favorite to go at 2. And Chad Reuter has him going off the board at 2 to the Houston Texans. And if we were looking at Will Levis, I have no idea if he's going to be a great NFL quarterback or not. But if the Houston Texans are willing to take that risk, and we know at the same time that Will Levis has more rushing upside than CJ Stroud, I will be going with Levis. I know this is an extremely hot take. And if CJ Stroud had more rushing upside than Levis, maybe we would swing it in the other direction. But if NFL talent evaluators are telling us Levis is the better quarterback and Levis has more rushing upside for fantasy football purposes, I will be taking Levis there. Now, CJ Stroud goes off the board pick 4 to the Indianapolis Colts. And I'll say Indianapolis is actually a better situation to land in for this upcoming season than what you're going to have with the Houston Texans. Now, the reason I think the Texans may be a little bit of a better situation in the long term is the additional draft capital that they got from that Deshaun Watson deal. So long term, maybe the Texans are a little bit of a better situation. Short term, maybe it's the Colts. Regardless, I think if CJ Stroud remains a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, he has to remain a top 5 pick in Dynasty rookie drafts, where we will be taking him at 4. Now, a quarterback that actually has also been falling down mock draft boards as of late is going to be Anthony Richardson who a lot of people were just screaming could be a top 3 overall pick the second we had the NFL Combine. And I mean, I was kind of listening to them. I was going, okay, well, yeah, Anthony Richardson looks like he has a crap ton of upside on paper. Where here he falls to the Minnesota Vikings at 10. Obviously, this is going to be a trade up with the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you're looking at Anthony Richardson going to Minnesota, it's a quarterback that has all the rushing upside in the world. This is a quarterback that would sit behind Kirk Cousins for this foreseeable future. But starting in 2024, given his rushing upside, he would easily have top 10 QB upside in fantasy. And I think we would still have to take him here. Now, I wanted to take Jackson Smith-Njigba over him. I'll say in a lot of spots with JSN, if Anthony Richardson falls this far in the NFL draft, I'll probably be taking JSN over Richardson. But I'm not even going to be taking Jackson Smith-Njigba here because we're going to go Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know. Okay, Gibbs is going to the Philadelphia Eagles, where he'll immediately be the starting running back on this team, where he'll immediately be in the best rushing offense in the NFL. I don't love the fact that Jalen Hurts will take rushing touchdowns, that Jahmyr Gibbs obviously has his best skill set as a pass catcher, and Jalen Hurts being able to run the ball isn't going to have a high check down rate. I don't love that, but it's better than JSN to the Baltimore Ravens at 22, right? And you know, I am a massive Jackson Smith-Njigba fan. We've been saying that he's the best wide receiver prospect since Jamar Chase for 2 years now. Like, love Jackson Smith-Njigba. However, going to the Baltimore Ravens at 22, we don't know who the quarterback is going to be. Even if it is Lamar Jackson, that is still not good. Even if the offensive coordinator has been changed, we can still assume that at the end of the day, this will be a team that does not have a lot of passing volume. This will be one of the lower passing volume offenses in the entire NFL. With Jackson Smith-Njigba, he would be the #1 wide receiver on the roster, but he'd be fighting for target share with Mark Andrews, an elite receiving option in his own right. So you would have Jackson Smith-Njigba, in my mind, an elite level talent, going to arguably one of, if not the worst situations you could ever find yourself in as a wide receiver. So I'm taking JSN at 7. I know he's falling down here, but it's just such a bad spot. Like Addison at 8, going to the Buffalo Bills 2 picks before. I almost want to move Addison ahead of him. Now, JSN is so much of a better prospect that we're going to bet on the talent. We'll see if the situation in Baltimore can improve over the long term. Now, with Jordan Addison, I think that he is the second or third best wide receiver prospect in this class, depending on how you stack him up with Quentin Johnston. I still have both those guys over Zay Flowers from a talent perspective. Now, Jordan Addison does go to the Buffalo Bills, a phenomenal situation, a team that could easily implement Jordan Addison, where Addison could kind of play all over the football field. I mean, you have Stephon Diggs being the prototypical alpha X wide receiver. You have Gabriel Davis being the field stretcher. And we know the Bills, at minimum, want 3 wide receivers in the field every down. I mean, majority of the time, they kind of want 4 wide receivers out there if they can get them. So Addison will run a zillion routes year one in one of the highest passing volume offenses in the entire NFL. I really like the prospect profile as well. I mean, this is a wide receiver for pulling up the boxes he checks. I mean, he broke out year one. Not only did he break out year one, but year 2, he wins the Biletnikoff and averages 33% of his team's receiving yards on a per game basis in a great situation. Let me know in the comment section, please. Would you rather have Jordan Addison over Jackson Smith-Njigba with these 2 landing spots? This is going to be something we have to think about so damn much. Now, at 9, we're going to go Zay Flowers. Yes, we've been spending the entire offseason saying, oh, no, don't buy the hype. Quentin Johnston's a better pick than Zay Flowers. If you are drafting in Dynasty, go Quentin Johnston, blah, blah, blah. However, I mean, here we have Zay Flowers going to the Kansas City Chiefs, who trade up to grab him at pick 24. Zay Flowers would be going to a team that has the best quarterback play in the entire NFL, and a team that has the worst wide receiver core in the entire NFL. So from a talent perspective, I don't think he's comparable to Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think Addison's a better talent. It's just so hard to rank these guys when we're literally looking at the best possible landing spot a player could ever have versus the worst possible landing spot a player could ever have. Let me know how you rank these three guys, because with Zay Flowers, he has some strong marks on his profile. I mean, he dominates his final season at Boston College. Now, my main issue with Zay Flowers is he stays all 4 years. His junior year, I mean, he did not have the same market share numbers that you had from Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. And that's why we're going to go with those top three guys over Flowers from a talent perspective. But the situation. Now, our next guy going to another great situation. You have Zach Charbonnet going to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, year one, probably not the best. Year one, you probably still have Joe Mixon here if this is the situation. But long-term, the Mixon's not going to be here in 2024. Like, let's go ahead and let's pull up this Joe Mixon contract, because keep in mind, a lot of people were talking about the possibility that the Cincinnati Bengals move on from Joe Mixon this offseason, which they could save about $7 million. But next offseason, they could save $11 million from moving on from a 28-year-old Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, bye, see you later, deuces. It would be Zach Charbonnet's job as the starting running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. Charbonnet has the size to be a three-down player. He has the receiving down skill set to stay on the field on third down. He'd be going to an elite offense with a quarterback that is willing to check the ball down. So Zach Charbonnet, he has to go 10 here. I mean, at the minimum, this is like the nut landing spot you could possibly have. 11, we're going to have a big-time surprise. I've not seen this too much, but Reuter had Hendon Hooker here going in round 1 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, we do this over and over and over again with quarterbacks coming into the NFL. It is incredibly difficult to know if they'll be any good. I think 9 times out of 10, if the dynasty community is doing one thing, if they are so convinced on a player, you got to fade it and you have to go in the opposite direction. I know everybody's going to be sitting here going, oh my gosh, Hendon Hooker is so old. Hendon Hooker should be in a retirement home. Guys, Joe Burrow went to the NFL at an incredibly late age as well. I'm not sitting here trying to say that Hendon Hooker would be a great real-life NFL QB, but if he goes pick 30 to the Raiders, unless he's Paxton Lynch, he's most likely going to get a shot to start at the NFL level. I would assume we get Jimmy Garoppolo for this season, then Hendon Hooker after that, and Hooker has a ton of rushing upside. So if you're a starting quarterback in the NFL with as much rushing upside as an Anthony Richardson, as a Hendon Hooker, you have to be in consideration as a great dynasty asset. Just because if you have that kind of rushing upside, you can still be a bad NFL quarterback. You're going to earn the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft and be an elite fantasy option because you can run the ball as much as possible. Now, at 12, we are going to go Quentin Johnston. Now, Johnston falls down the board both in this mock draft as well as the 2023 NFL draft in this example. You have Quentin Johnston going off the board at pick 33 to the Houston Texans. Now, you go to Houston, you're going to be the wide receiver 1 with Will Levis. I don't even think it's that bad of a situation, right? But if Johnston falls outside of round 1 of the NFL draft, which looks like it's definitely a possibility at this point, I mean, we do have to move him down with our evaluation process just a bit, even if he breaks out as a freshman, dominates as a sophomore, declares as a junior, has the size we look. I mean, he checks every box. But Charbonnet's with the Bengals here. Zay Flowers with the Chiefs. Jordan Addison's with the Bills. Jackson Smith and Jigba is Jackson Smith and Jigba. Even if I kind of like this spot for Quentin Johnston, I mean, you can only rank so many players. Now, going at 13, we are going to have Dalton Kincaid. I mean, a tight end that definitely still have some questions about, right? I mean, the issue, if we're going to be looking at Dalton Kincaid, is Michael Mayer is the guy that we've been talking about forever. He was the Debbie Darling, but Dalton Kincaid gets the perfect landing spot. I mean, going to a team in the Los Angeles Chargers that they not only need a tight end, they need a pass catcher in general. I mean, this is a team that you could pretty much guarantee that either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams are restructuring in 2024, or both of them are off the roster. So they need a pass catcher. They even more so desperately need a tight end. Now, Michael Mayer is the guy that we've been thinking about a little bit longer. He's been on the radar for years. Michael Mayer, at the same time, we've seen his testing numbers where Dalton Kincaid is a complete black box in that front. So we don't know how he tested, but it would just be a beautiful landing spot. And if he goes pick 21, that would tell us the Los Angeles Chargers and their evaluating staff are telling us he's a good enough athlete. He's going to be just fine. Now, our next guy finds a great landing spot as well. Michael Mayer going pick 28 to the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, here, yes, you can maybe make the argument, okay, well, Mason Myers, the better prospect. We've been thinking about him for longer, blah, blah, blah. I understand the argument, right? But the issue that we may have here with Michael Myers, he was a little bit later in the NFL draft, which isn't the end of the world, especially at the tight end position. But you're going to a Cincinnati Bengals team, which still desperately needs a tight end, very similar to the Los Angeles Chargers. But outside of that tight end spot, you have capable pass catchers. You have T. Higgins, you have Jamar Chase, and they're there for the long term, or at least we're assuming T. Higgins is. So I would rank the Los Angeles Chargers landing spot at tight end significantly ahead of the Cincinnati Bengals, even if they are both phenomenal landing spots. Now, our next guy is going to be Jalin Hyatt, who goes pick 25 to the New York Giants. This would be a wide receiver that, given his speed, given the field stretching ability, and round one NFL draft capital, would be an immediate day one player. Now, I don't necessarily know if he can ever turn into a target hog at the next level. He looks like he's more so going to be the field stretching mold. This is what we always talk about, right? So we talk about with Henry Ruggs, John Ross, Jameson Williams, Jalin Hyatt, these guys that are going to the NFL and are most likely going to improve their NFL offense and be better NFL players than they would be fantasy players. We should discount him in fantasy football, even if he declares early, even if he dominated as a junior, and even if he gets round one NFL draft capital. You have size concerns. Not only do you have size concerns, just the type of wide receiver he is, the prototype that is, usually not a great option in fantasy. Would be a fantastic landing spot, though, and I think that honestly probably goes to the Giants. It makes too much sense. Now, Josh Downs going to the Dallas Cowboys makes a lot of sense as well, because if you think about how you deploy these wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, yes, can play all over the field, right? CeeDee Lamb can go on the outside. He can play on the inside. Brandon Cooks is going to be that kind of a field stretcher wide receiver. He's not necessarily going to command a ton of targets at this point of his NFL career. This is a team that needs a wide receiver 3, but at the same time, I mean, they have enough at the position where they're not having to go and spend a round one pick on it. With Josh Downs, he checks some incredibly impressive boxes. He declares early, has a 40% market share number as a sophomore. That is beautiful. And at the same time, breaks out in year 2. Now, of course, he has his own questions. He has the size concerns. Not only does he have the size concerns, but you see him falling almost to the 3rd round of this draft. So yeah, Josh Downs 16, I really like the landing spot. I think you make a strong argument for Josh Downs over Jalin Hyatt. Honestly, if I was playing in like a half PPR format, I'd probably go Hyatt. If I was playing in a full PPR league, I'd probably go Downs. Now, going over to our next guy, we're going to be looking at Darnell Washington. I will say after Josh Downs, there's a pretty big teardrop of what we're going to be looking at after. With Darnell Washington, unlike Dalton Kincaid, this is a tight end that did test at the NFL Combine. This is a tight end that looked very good as well. Now, specifically because the man is coming out of Georgia, and Georgia right now is arguably the best tight end in the country. The production profile is not insane, but I mean, it kind of is what it is. You're playing alongside Brock Bowers. We're not expecting you to be some elite producer in college. You have the athleticism, you have the size. In this case, you would have both the landing spot we love with the Green Bay Packers and the draft capital. So this would be a bet that the Packers were able to go out there and look at him and to see some freak catches at the NFL Combine and say, yeah, I mean, if he was on a different team other than Brock Bowers, he would have been a dominant producer in college. Still incredibly young as well. Now, here's where we see that massive tier of running backs that I don't know what to do with, right? So Roshan Johnson is someone that I am really rooting for. And full transparency, I'm probably too high on Roshan. I mean, I went to the University of Texas. It's my guy, someone I want to root for, of course. He has a good landing spot with the Arizona Cardinals. I think you go to Arizona, it makes a lot of sense for the long term. It's a running back that can be a depth piece and can play alongside James Conner year 1. Now, he's not going to be good enough to actually start in fantasy year 1 outside of a James Conner injury. But then after James Conner is no longer with this team in 2024, Roshan Johnson in this kind of investment into him would allow the Arizona Cardinals to kind of play it by ear. I mean, if Roshan flashed and had good talent in camp as well as his rookie season, then they could be confident that Roshan Johnson going into 2024 could be their starting running back. But at the same time, it's a small enough investment taking him as a day 3 pick Whereas if he doesn't work out, who the hell cares? After James Conner's gone next year, go through and draft a running back in the 2024 draft. So with Roshan, I want to root for him. It's a good landing spot in general, but I really need to see him go inside the top 3 rounds. I feel like we're almost even giving him the benefit of the doubt here, because if we go to our next guy, 19, we're going to take Izzy. And with Izzy, he goes to the Dallas Cowboys, so a much better offense. And yes, Tony Pollard's on the franchise tag, but similar to James Conner, we don't know if Pollard's going to be there for the long term. Izzy gets more draft capital. He goes pick 90. Not only does he get more draft capital, but this is a running back that is way more athletic, right? I mean, this is a running back that runs a 4.45 at his pro day. It's a running back that has a BMI of 31. It's a running back at the same time is only 20 years old. So he's more athletic than Roshan Johnson. In college, he was significantly more productive than Roshan Johnson. He gets more draft capital, and at the same time, he finds a better offense. So the reason we are going to have him behind Roshan Johnson is because I went to the University of Texas Hook'em Horns. Now, Zach Evans is going to be our next guy at 20, pick 74. Going to the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I would be surprised if Zach Evans goes as high in the NFL draft, right? Because at the NFL Combine, he came in. He was smaller than we thought. As pro day, he was a little bit slower than we thought. Obviously, he's a black box. It's super difficult to know exactly what he is. The reason I'm going to have him ahead of Tyjae Spears, who goes at 21 for us, is if we're looking at Tyjae Spears, I understand that he has his fan club, right? I mean, a lot of people love Tyjae Spears, but I'm looking at a running back that is undersized. He's 5'10", 201, BMI of 28.8. He wasn't a great pass catcher at Tulane. Ran a 4.54 at his pro day. So if I'm looking at Tyjae Spears, we kind of know who he is, right? Where we know he's not big. We know he's not fast. We know he wasn't a great pass catcher in college. Whereas with Zach Evans, he's the mystery box. So it's kind of like you're telling me, Mason, hey, I will give you a dollar bill right now in Tyjae Spears, or I will give you this box that has something in it. I'm sitting there going, okay, well, it could be nothing. It could be a dog turd in that box. Who the hell knows? I definitely don't know. But do we really need the dollar? Do we really need Tyjae Spears? Probably not. Probably not. So I don't necessarily see the incredibly high ceiling with Tyjae Spears. That's why we will go Zach Evans 20. I mean, obviously going to play behind Nick Chubb immediately. Long term, however, I mean, if we are looking at this Nick Chubb contract, it actually was a little team friendly whenever he signed it. Like I expected Nick Chubb to get a bigger deal whenever he signed. But if all were to go wrong in 2024, when Nick Chubb's going to be 29 years old, they could cut him and save over $12 million. And that's a lot of savings at the running back position. Now, our next guy will be Cedric Tillman, who goes to the Atlanta Falcons with pick 44. And Cedric Tillman's actually a little bit of an underrated wide receiver in my mind, where he's a little similar to Zay Flowers, and that he dominates in college, but he stays all 4 years, didn't really go to mass program. I mean, here, clearly, we would way rather have Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is still a better wide receiver. And obviously, in this case, Zay Flowers getting a significantly better landing spot with the Chiefs. I think that they are comparable. Please, I still definitely prefer Zay Flowers. Don't scream at me. But I think the Cedric Tillman profile is in the same ballpark. It's like just a worse version, right? So if Cedric Tillman goes pick 44, or just in this range in general, if he's an early second rounder or if he's a mid second rounder, I'll be excited about Cedric Tillman. This is a wide receiver that I may be willing to take over like Zach Evans, Tyjae Spears, Izzy, Roshan. The issue with this draft in particular is you go to the Atlanta Falcons. With Atlanta, I know we were talking about, I mean, the Baltimore Ravens possibly being the worst landing spot for a wide receiver. If it's not Baltimore, it's Atlanta, okay? I mean, it's definitely Atlanta. I can't think of a worse spot. You have Kyle Pitts, you have Drake London, two of the premier young pass catchers in the NFL, and they can't even produce because this offense doesn't throw the ball. This passing offense is so bad that Kyle Pitts and Drake London can't put up fantasy points. So the third option in the offense definitely is not going to be able to. Now, 23, we're going to have Devin Achane. Now, I assume that he actually goes higher than this in both Dynasty rookie drafts as well as the NFL draft. Here you had Chad Reuter taking him 108 for the Denver Broncos. Now, I think that this would be a smash pick for Denver, right? I mean, I have my concerns from a fantasy football perspective with Devin Achane in that this is a running back that is tiny. Like, there's no way in hell he ever sees a full down workload. But he can catch the ball. He's an elite athlete. You can use him in very specific scenarios and find a lot of success. So I would love this selection from the Denver Broncos point of view. Now, if a running back this small falls to day 3 of the NFL draft, though, I would say he's essentially an athletic Kyren Williams. And y'all know I was completely off of Kyren Williams last year. I mean, maybe if he was a little more athletic, we'd be willing to take him, which is why we have Devin Achane as the top 24 pick. Now, going to our last guy, we're going to have Chase Brown at 24. Throw our hands in the air and say, what the hell am I supposed to do? You go over to the Chicago Bears where you're going to have Justin Fields vulturing rushing touchdowns. Justin Fields really isn't going to be checking the ball down very often. I think it's very hard to see Chase Brown turning into a 3-down back whenever we have Khalil Herbert. Not only Khalil Herbert, but we also have Deontay Foreman there. Hook 'em horns. So I think in reality, what we would probably see is I think we would probably see Chase Brown be in a muddied backfield that's not going to have a lot of points to go around. And I don't think he's a great talent and he wouldn't have any draft capital. So, I mean, maybe make the argument that he should be a little bit higher than this, but in reality, I think those last 5 or so guys are all so damn similar. But I think that's all we have for you. Again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. As always, drop that like, subscribe if you play Dynasty, and make sure you are heading to the main YouTube channel right before the NFL draft to catch us on the red carpet interviewing these players that are about to get drafted. I could not be more excited about this. But thank you so much for everything. Really hope you have a great day and really hope we get to see you with a video soon.